Hi, and welcome back to the Budget Home Chef. I am your head chef, Amanda. Today we are making beef enchiladas. This is a beautiful Latin meal that the whole family is sure to love. And of course, it is always budget friendly. So, sit back, relax, and let's get cooking. So here we're going to start with our spice mix. What I'm doing here is 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, and I used a pretty big heaping tablespoon of this here. And once I have that all closed up and put away there, we're going to put in 3 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, and 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. Once we have that all together in there, we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. Once that was all in there, we gave this a mix here. We just wanted to get that garlic incorporated a little, kind of get the seasonings all mixed together as well. On our next step here, I'm going to take this 1.5 pound chuck roast and cut it into 4 steaks. And once those are cut into 4 steaks, I'm going to season the one side with salt and pepper. You definitely could have bought chuck steaks here if you'd like. To me, it was just easier to do a chuck roast and cut them into steaks myself, and it definitely worked within our budget. Once that is done, we're going to get a thin layer of oil in the bottom of my Dutch oven here and let that heat up. Once you start to see that bubble, we're going to go ahead and put in those 4 steaks, seasoned side down, and then go ahead and season the other side. You want to season each side generously, because you always want to make sure that you have that great beef flavor that comes through with the salt and pepper. Now we only want to put a sear on each side, so you're going to want to do about 4 or 5 minutes on each side here. As you can see, we got that nice brown color on the one side there. And what I'm doing here is we're going to flip again and do another 4 to 5 minutes. Once we have this other 4 to 5 minutes done, we're going to go ahead, take them out of the pot here, and we're going to set them aside on a plate. And then we're going to go ahead and get started on our delicious enchilada sauce. Here we have our 2 small onions diced particularly small, and we just want to get those in the pot to start getting all the goodies scraped off the bottom. What we're going to do is we're going to let these onions cook until they get a nice golden brown. And just continue to stir and keep scraping all that deliciousness that's stuck on the bottom of the pot. The more flavor you can add to this sauce, the better. Remember those spices that we mixed up at the beginning there? Yep, we're going to go ahead and get those into the pot as well. And we just want to go ahead and get that all incorporated together. So you definitely want to just keep continuing to stir this all together, get it really nice and incorporated, and you want it to be nice and fragrant with the garlic and the onion. Next here we're adding 2 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce. If you can find a 15-ounce can, you can totally use that as well. Get that mixed in, and then we're going to add about a half a cup of water. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and get my whisk out here. I want to make sure that I have no lumps set up in this sauce, so I'm just going to give this a good whisk, try to make sure that it's all incorporated together properly. Now we're going to add those beautiful 4 steaks back into this sauce. We're going to go ahead, get one side down, get it all kind of covered on the one side, go ahead and flip it, and continue to do that with the rest of the steaks. And also add in the juices that are on that plate. Again, the more flavor the better for this sauce. At this point, after that time has elapsed, we want to check the tenderness of this. We're going to go ahead and stick a fork through it, and it should go straight through. And then at this point, once we know that it's pretty tender, we're going to go ahead and get the sauce and the meat separated. Now for the next step, we're going to go ahead and get the solids that were drained from the sauce, which is all the beef, probably some onions, and we're going to go ahead and get it into this bowl here. What we're going to want to do is we're going to try to shred that up as much as we can. Now, I did try to do this by hand here, but it was giving me a really hard time. Not only was it giving me a hard time, it was also very hot. So what I do is a little trick for myself, which I didn't put on camera here, is that I put it in my KitchenAid mixer with the paddle attachment. And with that, it's a perfect shred every time. Our next step here is we're going to go ahead and chop up some fresh cilantro. I am using organic because that's just what my local grocery store had, but any kind of fresh cilantro that you can find quick and easy at your local grocery store will be just fine. Like I said, I'm going to do about 1/3 of a cup here, so I'm going to pull off a good 2 bunches and put it in my mini food processor here. I am going to use the chop setting, not the grind. And as I say, always work smarter, not harder. If you do not have one of these, you can definitely do it the old-fashioned way by taking it and chopping it on your cutting board. Now, if you're not a fan of cilantro, you can definitely skip this step as well. I do know for some people it can taste like soap. Next here, we're going to add about 4 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese. And then once that's put in, we're going to go ahead and add 4 ounces of freshly shredded Monterey Jack cheese. I used freshly shredded because, again, my local grocery store didn't have already shredded Monterey, so I went ahead and shredded it myself. And once both of those cheeses were added, I went ahead and added my chopped cilantro. I want to make sure you get all of that in there. And once I did that, we're just going to go ahead and get this all mixed together really well. As you can see, that meat is pretty shredded. So we just want to make sure we get that all nice and incorporated there. You're probably going to get the consistency of meatloaf at this point, but that's just because you want to make sure you have it fully shredded and fully incorporated. What we're going to do here next is we're going to take 3/4 cup of that reserve sauce that we strained and put it in the bottom of this 13x9 baking dish. This helps from the enchiladas from sticking to the bottom of the pan, so what you're going to want to do is just give this pan a good shake so it's covering the entire bottom of that baking dish. Now here I have 11 to 12 corn tortillas, and we're going to take about 1/3 cup of that meat mixture and put it in the center of the tortilla. And when you do that, you're just going to want to go ahead, put it into a log formation, and go ahead and roll those up from the center. And you want to make sure you have that baking dish that we have nearby, so that way you can go ahead and roll and put in the dish and continue on to the next. It is okay if they start to look like they crack. Just don't roll too hard to the point that they do start to crack and all of your meat mixture starts to come out one side. And just continue to roll these up until you run out of the meat mixture. I only ended up with 11, but depending on how much you put in, could depend on how many you do make. Once that is complete, take the rest of that sauce and pour it over your rolled enchiladas. Once that's all poured, you want to go ahead and spread that sauce around. Make sure you're covering every inch of those tortillas. You don't want any of the edge of the tortillas to start to burn on you. Once that is all spread out, we're going to go ahead and put another 4 ounces of each sharp cheddar and Monterey Jack cheese on the top. And once we get that all spread out and evenly and add as much cheese as you do want, we're going to get these bad boys into the oven. And voila! An authentic Latin dish that tastes like it was just made from your favorite Mexican restaurant down the street. It's so cheesy and they're so small that you could definitely splurge and have more than just one. I will never eat enchiladas any other way from now on. These are so delicious. Again, thank you so much for joining me. As always, go ahead and subscribe to our channel here. Hit that like button on this video. And of course, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Until the next one.